Hello, welcome to the Punch Show. Just need to get this posted on Blue Sky. So sorry, had a little hiccup. Forgot to change the title, so I had to change that first. All right, we're good here. How's everybody doing? It's Monday. I know. That's why I had to change the title. Nobody likes Monday. Everybody likes Friday. Hang on 1 second while I change the scene. All right, there we go. And now we'll go back to here. All right, so hope you guys had a wonderful weekend and a pleasant weekend and all of that. I know one person had a pleasant weekend, and that's, what's his name? David Hearn. Because they're dropping the charges on him, sort of, I think. The reason they're dropping the charges on him is because, you know, as shocking as this sounds, he didn't do anything. All he did was touch water. The whole thing was bogus. He never committed vandalism, especially like the violently pulling up thing that Janine Pinero said. And I mean, let's just like think about some of this stuff for a minute. Because it looks like that now Todd Blanche is going to make it out of committee because he's kind of sort of released a statement about not letting rewarding people that beat police officers with millions of dollars. Maybe, you know. His statement has literally no legal bearing on anything and doesn't change anything. So it's not like it cost him anything. But, you know, now Tillis and Cornyn can pretend like it's not their fault. So we got Moonflow says it's Monday because I'm an idiot and didn't change the title. And Bear says hello. Hello, Bear. Or Barar. Yuvra Barar. Barar. Yuvra Barar. I don't know if I said that right. Probably not. Anyway, I've been thinking about this whole thing. And Todd Blanche was 100% willing to just prosecute somebody who didn't do anything illegal. And on the day that this happens, that it's revealed that this former U.S. Olympian who never did anything illegal and who Todd Blanche was ready to prosecute is getting the go-ahead from people who didn't want to reward people who were beating cops with this notion of the weaponization of the Justice Department, right? This weaponization fund. And here's the irony of it all. If anybody deserves money from the weaponization fund, it's David Hearn. The ones that have been weaponizing the Justice Department are the current Justice Department. Ask Letitia James. Ask James Comey. The real weaponization of the Justice Department is being done by this current Justice Department. And they're going to go ahead and make this guy who's willing to prosecute people who didn't do anything illegal, they're ready to make him the Attorney General. And it's not, you know, like it's David Hearn, it's James Comey, it's Letitia James. There was a guy or a girl, a gal, a lady, maybe a lady, that posted something supporting protesters on Instagram. And the FBI literally, or the, FBI or somebody literally showed up at her place of work and demanded she take it down, or they were going to prosecute her for doxing an ICE agent. And there was nothing in the post anywhere. There's no post. It's not even like she knew which post they were talking about, because she never doxed an ICE agent. So she went back and she looked through her Instagram. She couldn't even find anything. But they've just made it basically illegal to post on social media criticism of anything to do with Trump. She's not the only one. There's this group in Texas, which, there may be one case where somebody actually, shot an officer, and I don't have any problem with people shooting officers getting prosecuted, but people that were like 6 degrees of separation from this guy are going to jail for 30 years because they did things like move a box of flyers around. And, they're using conspiracy because they had arranged a protest together, but they didn't arrange to shoot the police officer together. They didn't arrange to do anything illegal together. And so I was thinking, it's like, let's say there's a bank robbery, and the bank robbers decide they're going to take an Uber to the bank. And so they just call Uber, they get in, the Uber driver takes them there, they give them a 5-star rating. They go in, they rob the bank, they come out, they say, wait for us, we'll come right back. And they go in, they rob the bank, they come back, they get in the car. The police come and surround the car. The Uber driver has no idea what went on in there. He has no idea what they were doing in there. And they charged the Uber driver with being the getaway driver, even though he didn't actually have any knowledge or participation in the plan, because he was going to, he was their getaway driver plan. So did he break the law? No. And that's exactly what's going on here. There may be somebody that broke the law, but there were other people that were just planning on legal activity, never planned anything illegal, that are getting charged and sent to prison for 20, 30 years for just protesting, for just exercising their First Amendment rights. So these are the people that want to have a weaponization fund. The people who are weaponizing the Justice Department are the ones that want to get paid back for people that were victims of the weaponization of the Justice Department, who actually committed crimes, who actually beat police officers, who are actually convicted of real conspiracy. So I don't understand why people like Cornyn and what's his name, they're okay with that, the actual weaponization of the Justice Department. They're okay with Todd Blanche sitting there making a sweetheart deal with not just Donald Trump, but his sons, to be able to commit as much tax fraud as they want, but they can never be investigated, while they're raking in billions of dollars from foreign governments in the White House. Yeah, that's fine. No. That's fine. What's not fine is carrying a box of flyers at an ICE protest. All right, so we got a few comments here, and then I'll get into my whole thing about that. That's just kind of my intro. I want to go through something that I think it'd be a good conversation. Blades says, do you have a job? Not at the moment. If you're hiring hot writers, let me know. Mine is being a gunsmith. Okay, I doubt you're hiring writers then. I make a commission. I make commissions at Blades. I make commissioned art, Blades. It's why I can hang on stream and work. I wish I could vomit tax fraud. I wish I could Yeah, I think Donald Trump vomits tax fraud. Commit. Hey, does this work better? This view arrangement work better with um the comments showing up on the profile thing? All right, so let me go. I'm trying something. I'm figuring out some things here, and so I'm gonna show you a thing I tweeted. Okay, so this is something I tweeted uh, yesterday, and I thought it'd be kind of fun to go through this. I just for one am tired of the crazy. Like it's nonstop. And so yesterday morning I woke up and there was some new fresh crazy talk going on. And so I thought, I just started writing this. And there's a story connected to it that like actually proves everything in here that I am saying. All right. So first let me just go through and read this all. So in 2020, a pandemic swept across the world that was planned by Dr. Fauci and Bill Gates and was simultaneously both killing billions of people and also just the flu. BLM was having violent protests, and burning down entire cities because a cop was wrongly accused of killing a black man who just coincidentally died of a fentanyl overdose while the cop was kneeling on his neck. Democrats who supported the protest but condemned the violence were actually the ones responsible for the violence because they said the word fight. Joe Biden, who was too inept to win the 2020 election, was also plotting to successfully steal the election while Donald Trump was president by getting Republican-led states to use their emergency laws so that people could vote without dying of the aforementioned fake but real Fauci-led pandemic. And he did all of this from his basement. Meanwhile, Donald Trump was bravely leading the charge for Operation Warp Speed, which sped up the approval process for the vaccine, which Fauci and his evil minions had designed to kill people using the fake but real pandemic as an excuse to inject people with the magnetic 5G mind control virus and vaccine. Then after the election, the Democrats cheated by counting votes where they were behind and also by counting votes where they were ahead, even though it wasn't even election day anymore, just because the ballots were cast on or before election day. After losing over 70 court cases, the Democrats illegally tried to seize power by sending the Electoral College results just because the courts said they could, thus having a total disregard for the rule of law. Then Donald Trump had a rally to stop the steal where he told people to fight like hell dozens of times, calling back to the Democrats saying the word fight meant that they were responsible for the violence, but he said the word peacefully once, which totally proves he didn't do anything wrong to make the violence happen. Then 2,000 peaceful protesters descended upon the Capitol building to stop the steal, where they were totally innocent and peacefully protesting, while Antifa and FBI actually caused all the violence that didn't happen. They were causing the violence because they wanted to make Donald Trump look bad. Also, the violence that happened at the totally peaceful protest was Nancy Pelosi's fault because she blocked Donald Trump from summoning 10,000 D.C. National Guardsmen to protect the Capitol building, even though there are only 2,000 D.C. National Guardsmen. The Speaker of the House has no authority over the National Guard, and the President of the United States is the Commander-in-Chief. Then, when Joe Biden stole the election, packed away thousands of national security documents and spirited them away to Mar-a-Lago, where they were safely held in a public restroom. Joe Biden sent out a bunch of stimulus checks with Donald Trump's signature on them, which caused a worldwide inflation 2 years later, right after Russia invaded Ukraine, because Joe Biden was warning NATO that Russia was going to invade Ukraine. So Russia had to invade Ukraine to defend itself from NATO. And all of the jobs that were coming back had nothing to do with Joe Biden, even though the inflation that caused everyone going back to work was 100% Joe Biden's fault. And Joe Biden's DOJ weaponized the Justice Department by prosecuting people who committed crimes, while Donald Trump is doing things the right way and prosecuting people who tried to assassinate Trump by posting an Instagram picture of seashells. Now we're at war with Iran because they were 2 weeks away from being able to hit America with nuclear weapons using their obliterated nuclear capabilities. And all of this is Barack Obama's fault because the treaty that he arranged was so bad. And the real tragedy in America right now is that Democrats are a bunch of libtard, fascist, communist, Marxist, socialists who are logically inconsistent. Do I have this right? So I posted that. Obviously, there was a bit of sarcasm involved. And so I can't find it because she blocked me. So I posted all this. Wait. I was happy. Jan LeCun even read this and thought it was funny. Jan LeCun is like one of the fathers of AI, in case you don't know who he is. So some people miss the sarcasm. I can't find this one post, but there was this one girl that was like, said that I was being dishonest because I was, like nobody really thought all of that stuff, as though just thinking some of this stuff was like valid. And so I found that funny. But then there was also, so she went back and forth on this. And then she accused me of changing what I said, even though like in the post, you can, on every tweet that gets edited, it tells you when it was edited, and then you can click on the link and it shows you the edit history. And so clearly it had never been edited at all. And I had pointed that out to her. And so then she called me a jerk and blocked me. So anyway, that is what got me to thinking would be a good subject for today's show. Just the incredible insanity that we have to deal with. Like all of this talk about January 6th, the real victims on January 6th were first, the 150 police officers that were beaten. Like, let's not forget about them. They were actually beaten by the protesters, but like one of the guys lost an eye. Another guy was literally beaten to death and back to life. Like they were the first victims, right? The second victims were the 81 million people who really did vote for Joe Biden and whom these people tried to steal the election from. It's like, we're always the bad guys to them. I'm so tired of hearing how the elections were stolen. Hey, buddy, I didn't steal the election. I voted. And my vote doesn't get discounted just because you decide that I'm an illegal immigrant. 81 legal votes were for Joe Biden and went through court after court after court. And then you sit there and you talk about, oh, well, you guys don't appreciate the rule of law. Dude, that's what the rule of law is. While you're sitting there literally arguing that Donald Trump should not be beholden to the law, you're sitting there arguing about the rule of law. Like, all of this just 180 polar opposite thinking. It's like, I just can't anymore. Like, like how many of you, like how many times a day? Do you just like, I just can't anymore. Now he's talking about the golden horses. He like put gold plating. He's got to turn the entire bleeping city of DC into like gold gilded nonsense. Like he's trying to turn it into ancient Rome or something. He's while people are like literally getting food denied them. I did some research this weekend, and it's we have, if you count together the cost of the actual war and the cost of like the inflation with gas prices and food prices and stuff like that. In just like the last 6 months, Americans, either through their taxes or through higher costs, have spent as much money, almost as much money, as we're going to save the entire 10 years in SNAP benefits. Can you believe that? 10 years in SNAP benefits that they cut, the entire savings from those SNAP benefits, from depriving those children of food, because by Jove, we just can't afford to feed children, because how else are we going to go and like kill children in Iran? And it took 6 months to spend all of that money we saved. And that money, I'm sorry, was not well spent. All right. I'll go back and read through but anyway, I'm sure you guys have things to say on this. Like what is the craziness, the most inconsistent thing? Is it Donald Trump sitting there praising himself for the warp speed vaccine? And that's one thing I do give him credit for. Warp speed was a success. He didn't invent the vaccine. The vaccines were already invented. But he did speed up the approval process at a time it needed to be speeded up. I give him credit for that. And sure, it was completely self-centered, because he thought if he could get it approved before the election, and like there was a time where he was trying to act like he could just declare it approved before it went through it completed the testing process. And then you didn't have the MAGAs that now complain about how it wasn't tested. They weren't complaining about it when he was talking about releasing it before it was tested. What he did is he allowed the speeding process to speed up by allowing for several different processes to occur simultaneously. So anyway, what is your favorite upside down contradiction from MAGA? Back to the comet vomit typo from Dustin. Brett says vomit comet, same thing in this case. To ever name a comet after vomit commit. If I were to ever name a comet after Donald Trump, it would be the vomit comet. I think it makes the comment more clear. The words are still at the bottom behind the chat in the vertical stream for cell phone users. I'm sorry. I wish I could do something about that. I think what it is it maybe overlays the bottom of the chat, and I monkeyed around with it, and there's a way that you can just have the chat on the live like stream live, and I can move those, but I cannot figure out how to move these. I've tried and tried and tried. The crazy part of a psychological breakdown, get people used to it so they just give up, like an abuse. It is. It's just like you're just crazying people into just giving up. They're like, what is even the point now? What is even the point of trying to talk to somebody that sits there and acts like vaccines don't work? Like, that's such a dude. This is the 21st century. Or 22nd, is it? 21st century. And where it's still it hasn't been that long. And we're sitting there debating whether or not vaccines are effective. And you've got the department, RFK Jr., the one that's supposed to be like the person for medical advice, sitting there spouting nonsense about how vaccines are dangerous. And so yeah, and you feel more and more like you just what can you do? You go out and you campaign and you work for your candidate and they win, and then you just get told it's because illegals voted for him, not because actual. And then you don't need evidence for them. They don't need evidence of that. The evidence of that is that there is no evidence, which just shows how good they are at it. My generation had Wonder Woman. This generation wonders what a woman is. Body blue, raised arm. No, this generation does not wonder what a woman is. And by the way, uh, your version of Wonder Woman, with the Linda Carter, supports trans rights. So, you know, have fun with that. Your shadow banned on site at least 50 channels. Oh, it's my kitty. How you doing, kitties? Hi, kitties. Kitty, that last link that I sent you is a permanent link. So if you want to pop on, feel free. If you don't want to pop on, I know you're busy. It's why people who are so exhausted. It's why people are so exhausted. It's so intentional to blend the truth into Prenzlex. Rest in peace, George Floyd. I tried to go to the protest, but my mom didn't let me go because I was a minor. It's I think there were 42 million people in the protest. And they talk about, like, with the protests, they talk about the violent protests and burning down cities. They didn't burn down cities. A couple of cities got burned, or a couple of buildings got burned down. But I think most of that was done by the Boogaloo Boys. At least the precinct building in Minneapolis, the one they're always showing as though it's like every city in the country that was burning down, but it was just like one building and it was set on fire by right-wingers. And that's the proof of their left-wing violence. That's the other thing. I mean, like, they talk about left-wing violence, left-wing violence, left-wing violence, and they're sitting there, they need their guns to shoot liberals who, like, disagree with them and promote left-wing violence. Like, why are the people that are hoarding guns not the ones that we suspect might be violent? Paul came to ask what a woman is because he doesn't know, and he's never going to find out. We all know that out the gate the insults are a lack of context. But we also know this is just a red hat people thing. Yep. Not at all. What do you mean not at all? What's not? Not at all. I presume. Sorry, because I get behind in the comments, so I sometimes the ones that reference whatever I was saying in the moment, I don't know what I was saying in the moment. I presume this is trying to make sense of a QAnon to MAGA politics. Yes, that whole thing was the whole diatribe on my Twitter account was just like, when you put it all together and you realize just like, and they act like we're the ones that have derangement syndrome. We're the ones that are not capable of rational thought, while they're sitting there holding all of these just completely opposite thoughts in their heads at the same time. Eugene Goodman was one of the police officers that had to distract the mob after Senator Holland riled them up. It's terrifying how they somehow convinced so much of the population that it was not an attempted coup. It was. They were literally there to stop the steal. That's why they said they were there. And the steal was the change of government. They were there to prevent Joe Biden from being officially declared president. Their stated goal was to overthrow the government. But it wasn't a coup. And it's like, oh, well, why didn't they have any guns? Well, first of all, some people did have guns. Secondly, we didn't stop and frisk every single one of them, so we don't know how many guns were there. Third, there were guns in the trees. There was footage of the rally where there were people that had guns in the trees. Fourthly, 150 police officers were still beaten that needed hospital care. So just because there weren't, they didn't come in, It's so incredible how they're like, oh, well, they don't have any guns. It couldn't have been a coup. It couldn't have been an insurrection. And it's like, but somehow children coming over the border to ask for asylum are invading the country. They don't have guns. They're not an armed military, but you call them invaders. But the people who are literally beating police officers within an inch of their lives and trying to overthrow the government are just entirely peaceful people. Trump already sent a message to the world that America is for sale. Oh, man. America's not for sale. He's for sale. And I know what you mean, but I'm like, he doesn't give a flying fornication about America. This idea that he loves America, he could not care anything about America. He's sitting there talking about, I want to stop the drug cartels, while he literally bails, gives people pardons that ran the drug cartels and laundered money for the drug cartels. And you can't actually get answers to that from MAGA. Like, if you point out these things, they're just like, oh, yeah, name one. And then you name one, and then they just like, oh, what's a woman? These people will be actively defended by the very people they hate, then proceed to still dehumanize them. Yep. It's so frustrating. I can't deal with it anymore. I'm just so frustrated and fed up and tired of the nonstop, steady stream of stupid that comes out of Donald Trump's mouth and regurgitated by all the sycophants in Congress and all the sycophants in his cabinet and all the lemmings that like believe everything that they say. Like they can say one thing one day and then another thing the next day, and the people will be like, not even recall at all that he said the opposite the other day. How many times has Donald Trump, give Donald Trump the Peace Prize already? Like, just give him the Peace Prize, because he's stopped the Iran war like 12 times now. Like, doesn't that count for something? I mean, if you just solve the same war once, everybody can do that. But how many people can stop the same war every single day and make money while doing it? Survivorship is still strong in almost every community, especially MAGA. Survivorship. That's interesting. I like that word. Paul is spamming same and similar elsewhere. That's appalling. Get it? Appalling? All right. Bitches, I am the real world Wonder Woman. You are. Paul is a prolific troll, at least 50 channels. It's all he does all day long. No job. Can't understand this administration. I mean, accidentally releasing info that admits a Russian helped Trump with the election, of course, with the horde of paid internet trolls, and there's some still on board. John always likes to just come on and say I am lying, and like, what am I lying about, John? Please tell me one thing I lied about. I bet you, and I know you can't, because I haven't lied about anything, which is why you have to be vague and abstract and just stamp your feet like a little toddler who can't get his Twinkies. Anything that could help your work, Kitty. I can't handle the Epstein stuff, but I definitely can draw the hell out of some cats. Oh yeah. So Dusty followed me on Blue Sky, and he's an artist. You do some amazing work, Dusty. I can draw a bath, I can draw a cup of tea, and I can draw a straw. That's where my artistic talent ends. I'm serious. When I was in 7th grade, we had to make these clay things, and so I decided I was going to make my dad an elephant, a clay elephant, or a clay mouse. I was going to make him a clay mouse for Father's Day. I don't remember why there was a reason. Anyway, So I'm making the mouse, and everybody keeps walking by going, nice elephant. And so finally I got sick of it. I'm like, I just took a piece of clay and I rolled it up and I made it into a trunk and stuck it in the middle of his face. And my mouse won the art fair as an elephant. And then, some people are like, oh, well, no, you just went with what the clay was telling you. No. I went with what everybody was telling me. Like, I still thought it looked like a mouse. So, and I was still trying to make a mouse until the very bitter end. But yeah, that's how much artistic talent I have. Like, when it comes to writing, I'm a decent writer. That artistic part of my brain works, but I'm actually I think I'm a pretty good poet too, but no money in that. As Brett says, John, you're non-specific. Month 6 of hearing that air fuse is yoon. That air fuse is yoon when enunciation is gone. Their navy is gone. It is at the bottom of the ocean. And yet they have enough supplies to send cargo ships of weapons to Russia. And to keep there was one person that was like sitting there talking about it. And I can't remember who it was, like Dean Withers or somebody was on the guest panel and just like, then how are they shutting the Straits of Hormuz? And, there was on like the Fox and Friends or the CNN panel with the one weirdo dude that used to be in. Anyway, it was just like these people, when you like point out the obvious flaw in their argument, they just shift. They just move the goalposts and pretend you never said anything. That went south. My thumbs. I figured it out. You did okay. You can't. I mean, like, Mark Twain had time to practice on this stuff. Won 16 times, almost had a deal 40 times. And yet, when he announces this weekend that there's a deal, people buy it again. It's like Lucy and the football. Every single day. It's just, here, I'll see if I can pull this up. I made a meme. I'm not a good meme maker, but I made one. The left can't meme, as they say. But I still thought this one was pretty good. See if I can find this. Okay, just need to. Think you guys might appreciate this one. All right, need to upload it. All right. So I made this meme. Donald Trump has ended more wars than any president in history. And that's just counting the Iran war. And so here in the check marks, Iran war again. So all the times he solved the Iran war. Anyway, I hope you appreciate it. I thought it was funny. All right. Survivorship bias, kind of like getting the polio vaccine, then thinking polio isn't a problem. Right. And it's like one of my favorite stupids that comes out of the MAGA is the whole idea like natural immunity is the best, is better than vaccines. And it's like, you realize that in order to get natural immunity requires getting the disease, right? Like that natural immunity is derived from getting the vaccine. And, this is what Dusty's talking. Like, if you survive it, then of course your natural immunity is there and you survived it and your natural immunity worked. But for a lot of people, natural immunity did not work and they died. And your whole argument, if your whole argument is the best way to keep from getting the vaccine, or to keep from getting the disease is to get the disease, then your argument has an obvious logical flaw in it. I thought you were serious there for a moment. It's funny because I thought the sarcasm was evident. Because I mean, like, how could it not be until you realize that is also true? It's just putting all the things together that makes it like apparent how ludicrous the whole thing is. And there's one person's just like, oh, you're making it like one person thought all of those things, as though like that was the real issue. It's like every one of those things is ludicrous. Acting like George Floyd wasn't really murdered because he had fentanyl in his system and just coincidentally died while Chauvin was kneeling on his neck for 10 minutes. Yeah, maybe he wouldn't have died of fentanyl if he hadn't had his neck knelt on. I'd say that 40 failed deals. Oh, but they it's like when I used to smoke a pack a day. I quit like 30 years ago. Actually, almost exactly. I quit Christmas Day 1996. Anyway, but when I used to smoke, I'd smoke a pack a day, and so I'd say quitting's easy. I quit 20 times a day. Month 6 of hearing their Air Force is gone, their anti-aircraft is gone, their Navy is gone. I meant to say, I figured it out. Can a man become a woman, like actually become a woman? Randall? No. A man does not become a woman. That is not what a transgender person is. A transgender person is a person who is already a woman, whose body is surgically modified to match her gender, so that her brain and her body are reconciled. Let me ask you this, Andrew and Randall, and I know you're not going to answer the question because you never do. You never respond to anything I say. But you know that TV show Altered Carbon on Netflix, where like the detective gets woken up and put into a new, like his consciousness is suspended, and then he gets activated in a new body, and then he goes out and solves a crime. It's actually a really good show, and both of the actors, like there's 2 seasons and it's a different actor each time. So anyway, if you ever just watch the show, it has nothing to do with transies. You don't have to worry about that. You won't get the cooties if you watch it. It's a good show. But let's say we could suspend your consciousness, just theoretically, and you could transfer your consciousness into another body. If I were to transfer your consciousness into a woman's body, would you be a woman, Randall? Think about it. You don't know. Why do you have to ask? Why do you have to come to so many YouTube channels? Just ask a woman what it is. Why don't you get it? Honestly, ask a trans woman. Just talk to a trans woman or a trans man. Like these people, they never talk to trans people. Like, and understand where they're coming from. And they never look at the science. They just like can't think of penis or vagina. Like that's all, their entire mentality is locked in on that. And they can't think beyond that. And they talk about science and biology, even though the scientists and biologists say it's not that simple. It's always the same stupid fornicating comments. And it's like they never listen. Andrew's not going to sit there and go, okay, well, maybe you have a point. I will go and I will read something that's not written by Stephen Miller and see if I could learn something. Maybe there's something that this entire segment of the population is onto. Maybe the scientists actually know more than I do. Maybe the entire medical community knows more than I do. Like, have you ever thought that, Andrew? That maybe you're the one that's wrong? That it's not really about define what a woman is? I bet you say stuff like it's Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve, too. Just another market manipulation Monday. Doesn't quite fit. I mean, you're not going to find milk at the hardware store, and Fox isn't news. It's propaganda entertainment for imbeciles. Fox didn't get wealthy at a due to credible journalism. Now, but they lost, what was it, $700 million due to fake news? I think Darwin's an awesome guy. I loved hearing MAGA don't wear masks or get their job. Oh, here, let me see if I can find this. Is it? Okay. I'm going to see if I can. I'm going to see if sorry anti-vaxxer shows up on the way back. And it's not showing up. Maybe I remember the. Anyway, there was this website that I think was called. It was called like sorryantivaxxer.com or something like that. And it was just all these anti-vaxxers who found social media fame that ended up dying of COVID. And it's not like I'm glad they're dead, but karma is a biatch. Kind of all the above, as there's like 50 different ways to be gendered to the point I don't care how someone becomes or labels. And it's like, what does it even matter to you? Like why are people so obsessed with it? It's like literally we have millions of, like, there is so much more to worry about and be concerned about than whether or not somebody identifies the gender that you think they should identify as. Like what does it hurt you? There's like, they talk about what about trans women in sports? And it's like, you're talking about like 50 instances. Like let the sports figure those things out. Some sports it might matter more than others, but they're still people. We have more laws against transgender people in sports than we do transgender people in sports. A woman is anyone who needs to cover their glass when a Republican walks into the room. I say that all the time, but I think I figured out there's actually there's part of the issue with saying what is a woman is there's something called an equivocation. All right, and that can be like where a word means two different things, and then you kind of swap the meaning of it back and forth to make a deceptive argument. So a woman can mean a biological woman, somebody who was born at birth with a vagina. A woman can also have a sociological meaning, which is a woman is a person who identifies as a woman sociologically. So I think in a way this could help understand, help the incels understand the difference between the two definitions of woman. The biological definition of a woman is that's what you will never have the pleasure of experiencing. And the sociological definition of a woman is that's the person that covers her drink when you walk into a bar. So do you get it? Like a woman, a biological woman is someone you will never have sex with. You don't have to worry about getting duped into having sex with a trans woman because a trans woman is never going to have sex with you any more than a cis woman. Like, just don't worry about it. Put that fear out of your incel head. It's not going to happen, Andrew. You're just never going to have sex with anybody but your own hand. Like that, just deal with it and stop blaming trans people for the fact that nobody loves you. I know for me, the first place I look for an expert is X. Well, I mean, that's what the X means, right? It's an expert, because an internet doctor is always saving lives. Okay, we got Ukrainian here. If somebody can do the translate thing for me. But yeah, I think Kastrok was on here last week. A woman is whoever I think it is. I think Randall is a woman because he's acting hysterical about trans people. Like, what did they do to you? 99 problems in the world. The obsession with this is ridiculous. Meanwhile, people in India are killing themselves over med school exams, and I can't order salad anyplace. Right? And like, we've just got people. I can't, like, one of the things that I feel like we need to, like, be speaking about more is just how much the actual First Amendment is really under attack right now. All these people that just lost their minds because Donald Trump got his Twitter account suspended are now celebrating the actual weaponization of the Justice Department against people for exercising free speech. He is literally prosecuting people for posts on social media. Like, this is what the actual First Amendment applies to, right? It says that, let me read it. I just want to make sure I get it exactly right, because I think the way it starts is really important. It says, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or the press, or the right of the people to peacefully assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. So the first three laws, or the first three words, 5 words. The first 5 words of the First Amendment are Congress shall pass no law. Right? It doesn't say that Twitter can't suspend your account. It says Congress shall pass no law. The government can't prosecute you for something you said. That's what the First Amendment is. They are actually weaponizing the Justice Department against people for posting things on social media. And the free speech advocates that lost their minds because Donald Trump got suspended from Twitter just because he started a coup with a tweet. We must remember that there's a difference between gender identity and sexual orientation. Gender identity and sexual orientation are definitely different things. Yes. I don't know if anybody was confused over that, but yes. And so, like, the people who obsess over these things are like, well, if you're a transgender man and you're attracted to women, are you gay or are you straight, huh? And they act like that's some sort of got you. No, if you're a transgender man attracted to a woman, then you're a heterosexual. It's not that hard. It only matters to who you bone and who you are in community with. It doesn't matter if you can do your job, aka why DEI exists, because they are fully capable of their job. And it's like the DEI people, this is another one of those upside down things. These DEI people that sit there and talk about, oh, it's got to be merit, it's got to be merit. And you've got the most incompetent, unqualified cabinet in the history of the country. Not one person in the Trump cabinet is remotely close to the most qualified person for their job. Some might be minimally qualified. Like Todd Blanche has a law degree, but I think there's plenty of disqualifying things about him. Pete Hegseth has no qualifications at all. And he's the one that rails about DEI the most and fires people for being black or for being women. The brain drain at the Pentagon is like not the kind of thing that it's just going to fix itself in a couple of weeks. Republicans keep breaking the government and expecting Democrats to repair it. But right now, Trump is breaking it beyond repair. My ears don't like the sound of the sneaker squeaking on the floor. Andrew's hand covered its glass when he walked in the bathroom. Oh. Kelly is a woman's name. Yes. Well, no, actually, Kelly is a gender neutral name. I was specifically named after a Medal of Honor winner. So I guess, if you want to, not that it matters. I think that like mocking somebody for what they're named as though like it was chosen at birth or something. It's such a weird thing. Like I never understood that this thing that like people, and they always act like they're being creative. You have a girl's name. And it's like, well, you have a baby's brain. I went to a shop in California when I visited him each summer. In the shop was a trans woman who worked there. She was tall and definitely looked like a man trying to be a woman, but she was nice. I just wish we could just see people as people. He said good evening. Who said good evening? What did I miss? I must have missed something. Trump fits every characteristic of the Antichrist according to the biblical prophecies. There's a verse in Revelation about the Antichrist that talks about how a lot of like one of the things the Antichrist will do is it will expose the kind of the pseudo Christians, like at least according to biblical prophecy. If you're not a Christian and you don't want to listen to any of this, I understand. But just if you are a Christian, it's worth hearing that there is actual prophecy that the Antichrist will actually get a lot of the fake Christians, win them over. And it even says that if it were possible, God's very elect would be deceived, right? So there are people that claim to follow Christians or follow Jesus, that claim to be Christians, that are going to follow the Antichrist because the Antichrist is going to appeal to them with their fake Christianity things. And Donald Trump is doing that. He is exposing fake Christians for what they really are. Please don't think that anything to do with this whole America First MAGA movement has anything at all to do with the Bible. It doesn't. It doesn't. It just doesn't. And I think that, I have a much harder time explaining to my liberal friends how I can be a Christian than I do my Christian friends or how I can be a liberal. They're like, I don't, take every verse in the Bible verbatim and stuff like that. But I think the general message, there's something there. It is up to also the fifth and highest level of priesthood in the Church of Satan. Meanwhile, Janine Pereiro becomes, now another one of the MAGA women thrown under the bus. I think Melania must be tied to the bumper by now. And she was so adamant when she was sitting there, and he violently was tearing this, thing. And the way she said the word violently, like with such emphasis. No, well, maybe not. David Hearn is the victim of the weaponization of the DOJ. I think not Donald Trump. Donald Trump says he's the biggest victim. Right. Feces head. I think it was awesome. Pereiro is going to eat poop. No. Heard she's so upset she went and got an extra box of wine. I don't watch cable news and mainstream media news like NBC, ABC, and CBS because of all the Trump lawsuits. These network news are all watered down versions of what used to be good news. Yeah, we've kind of lost sight of what news used to be. It's become more like takes on the news than it has actual news. Back when I was a kid, they just told you what happened. They didn't tell you how to think about what happened. Rush Limbaugh and Fox News changed all that. She can wash it down with all that booze she drinks. Yeah, she had like tonight's a, like some people when they're really upset, they get a second bottle of wine. When she gets upset, she gets a second box of wine. Why are you so angry? Why aren't you? Why? I love it when they ask this. Why are you so angry? Could it be because like Donald Trump through his policy has killed like literally millions of people around the world, that he has to destroy the rights of half the country, that he's telling women what they can and can't do with their own bodies. He's prosecuting people for saying things that disagree with him. He's destroying my country. He's destroying the world's economy. He's killing people in other countries. And today he's sitting there, I don't want to kill more people, but I will. My question is, why aren't you angry? Anybody with a soul and a conscience should be angry. I'm not angry, I'm indignant. So Walter says, why so angry? Because we're wasting time on this instead of a nut job dragging us into a 6-month war. I understand his anger. I too am angry at this administration and can't wait to dismantle it. You have a badass name, homie. That sounds like a MAGA insult. So it's actually so I think I want to say is it Charlie? Yeah. Charles Kelly was his name. He's the only person to receive 2 Medal of Honor winners from 2 different branches of the armed forces. So my dad thought he was kind of cool, and I got named Kelly after him. So, if you think that being named after the only person to get 2 medals of honor from 2 different branches of the service makes me a girl, go ahead. Why are you coming here? Why do you always have to come to YouTube to take out your anger, even every time your boyfriend slaps you around? You don't have to take that abuse. You get right back on your grinder and you show him. I agree. I don't think there's no shame. There's no shame. It's not your fault that he's violent. Step away. Leave. There's help. You can get some support. We stand with you. I bet when he's in a room having an actual conversation, he suddenly has nothing to say. None of it, like these people, and you notice like even like when you watch some of these YouTube streams where they have like the in-person debates, when you start talking, when the Democrats, the liberal or whatever starts telling them the answers to their rhetorical questions that have different answers than they anticipated, they get really they have to like start talking over the answer. Like they can't actually sit there and listen to the answer and then respond to it. They can't have a conversation because it's like they're afraid that a competing thought could get in their head. And it's not just like they're arguing, it's like they're defensive. They're like afraid of actual intelligence happening. It's so weird watching them. And every once in a while, like a thought will get through and they'll realize something and then they'll like panic. You're stuck on a repeat of whatever dumb poop fantasy comes out of Donnie's lying mouth. Get his hand out of your hole and think for yourself, puppet. You got a point. I'm not in the mood for this poop today. It's the same dumb comments every damn time. It's just, it gets so redundant. And see, so then it's almost like on cue, right? As soon as you say that, same dumb comments every damn time. And then the very next comment is your TDS is apparent and pathetic. Oh boy. Way to go, Chad. TDS for the win. Oh, I feel so dunked on. Boy, you just accused me of having TDS. You came up with that little brilliant quip all on your own. Boy, I bet you're the life of parties. I bet you walk around using that zinger all the time. I bet you typed that poop out and ran like hell off the channel. I am so mad about Felon DJT and how and what a narcissist Trump has done for our country and how corrupt he is. MAGA is an evil cult. They are. And he's a cult leader. They'll never admit it. They'll never actually say that's what he is. But he is an absolute cult leader. And they that mentality they have is a cult mentality. It's like, have you ever met people that are in an actual religious cult? Because they're the defensiveness. That's actually. I bet if Kitty's still on here, she might be able to speak to this with some expertise. But if you ever talk to them, and like that's what it is. It's like there's some sort of safety net that they have against like any challenging thought, and it's like they're it's like mentally they're in the fetal position, right? And you're trying to help them, and you're like trying to open them up, like say no, it's safe, and then they just like clinch harder and harder into the fetal position. Like mentally they're there, they're like just they're hugging their knees, and they're just so afraid that an actual logical thought might penetrate. And so the more you try and help them, the more they dig into just how insane they are. And then they just sit there and they TDS. MAGA won't be happy. If I say TDS enough times, their logic will go away. MAGA won't be happy until the cult leader tells them to all go to Greenland. Oh yeah, now I think he made a promise that Greenland was going to belong to America before he leaves office. Like that's like he's just threatening NATO now. It's because we as Americans are frustrated and concerned. It's like I'm so tired of this idea that unless you support Trump, you don't love America. And if you oppose Trump, you hate America. We are half of America. There's more of us than there are of you. More people voted against Trump than voted for Trump. Why is Chad's not talking about Grindr? He keeps it a secret. So it's a Kitty. Yeah. What, like, I've noticed this kind of defensiveness with MAGA that's not just like typical defensiveness. It's not like if you're arguing about sports and somebody wants to insist that Kobe Bryant is better than LeBron James in spite of all the facts and evidence. But they're it's like their soul is attached to the argument. And I've known people in cults where when you try to talk to them about the fact they're in a cult, and they have this kind of mentality. Like I think of it like they're mentally locked in a fetal position. And it's really hard to get them to discuss things in any sincere way. And I'm wondering, like, is that a thing in cults that is real? Like, I mean, I've talked to people that are in cults and tried to help them come out of them. So I've helped some people come out of cults, but it's that first, I've been trying to put my finger on it, and that's what it seems to me like when I talk to people that are in MAGA. It's that same thing. Like they've invested so much into it, that if they admit anything is wrong, then they have to start questioning whether everything is wrong, and they're just afraid of hearing anything that's contradictory to all that they believe. Like nothing they say can be wrong, because then the whole pile of lies starts collapsing. And I'm just wondering, from a psychological standpoint, whether or not there's something there, if there's a word for that or anything. I was kind of in one. MAGA is a cult. I was in an extremely religious Church of Christ group. That's the one I'm thinking of. I was taught if I can't bring people to the church and to Jesus, then I was supposed to cut them. Yep. Yep. That's one of the I've actually experienced. So exactly the same group I was thinking of. Hawaiians hate Americans with a passion. I don't know why that is. Trump is their religion, and they are absolutely cult-minded, brainwashed. Absolutely. I mean, there's some distinctions between MAGA and cult, and I love it when they say that we are a cult. Like, if you don't like MAGA, then you're in the cult. And it's just like, we can't even agree on a presidential candidate. It's like we're the opposite of a cult. I don't know if there's an other extreme to cult. Like, we're like an anti-cult. If we find one thing wrong with the candidate, then it's like the whole world has to turn on them. Well, 11 years ago, he did say that, either he said defund the police, or he said that we shouldn't say defund the police. And then either way, the become prohibited by a certain segment. Like, we're the opposite of a cult. We find ways to exclude every single person. Pete Buttigieg is gay, and John Ossoff is Jewish, and anybody that's a woman is a woman, and anybody that's black is black, and anybody that's a white straight cisgender male is a white straight cisgender male, and therefore just the same as a Republican. We disqualify everybody just based on who they are. I don't mean we collectively. I mean, there's, no matter who you choose, there's going to be some group of liberals that wants to disqualify them. So we're the opposite. Like, Donald Trump could kill hundreds of thousands and millions of people, and they would defend him. We know this because it happened. Yeah, and the bite model isn't called behavior control. If you say something that challenges their God, they have canned things to say, just like every cult. Yep. They train you, right? In the cults, they train you to, this is, if somebody says this is how you respond. It's like a self-defense class. And their self-defense ultimately comes down to TDS. If you say TDS enough times, then the logic will go away. In Knitting Cult Ladies list, it's called worldview control. Interesting. We absolutely have identified this as a cult of personality. I mean, but what I'm wondering is there a word for that actual mechanism, that defense mechanism? Is there, I'm talking about the actual cognitive rejection where that seems to be fear-based, like that moment where they, rather than accepting the thought. I don't mean like when they have cognitive dissonance. Like, cognitive dissonance isn't that new information contradicts your perception or your understanding of the world. It's because that's a good thing. Like, cognitive dissonance should happen, right? Because it means your brain is recognizing, hey, this is different. It's what you do with it. And this kind of hysterical rejection of it, that reaction to it, of just like shoving it away. What is that called? cognitive rejection or something. Is there a word for that? So defensiveness, cognitive dissonance, not really. Okay, yeah. There should be. Maybe we should call it MAGA-itis. It's just it's so like the fear is palpable when they do it. Like they can't follow up. You know, like you notice that Andrew or whatever his name is and Chad and all of these guys, like the way that they come in and they yeah, I'm gonna beat you up. I'm gonna beat you up, and then it's like one punch to the jaw and they go down. The act of curling up into dissonance. That's what we should call it. Fetal dissonance. Sometimes it gets called shutdown. Might have an actual word. Rationalization, avoidance, closed mindset. It's just, and I mean, like I've genuinely tried to engage, right? You guys know. And I'll post it on Facebook and people be like, okay, I'll talk with you. What do you want to talk about? And then, and then you say, you just go ahead and pick anything. And then they're like, oh, so you're afraid to talk. And you say, okay, I'll just pick a subject, like whether or not illegal immigrants are voting. Selective perception. That I think that goes a long way towards identifying it. But it doesn't quite convey the intensity of it. Like the only place I've seen it that way is with people that are in an actual religious cult, to where there's just like, when I say fear, I don't mean fear of like physically afraid or anything, but like a paradigmic fear to where, like, if I question this, the entire paradigm of my existence will collapse, and I won't know who I am anymore. I won't know what I think anymore. Like everything that I am and believe is just going to be destroyed. And so, I mean, I'm reluctant to use the word cult because I feel like the word gets overused, but it like Kitty is actually knows what she's talking about, and she's saying it is cult. Hello, this is a religious cult. And I mean, if it's not religious, it's close enough. like there might be some religious implications that are not quite there, but like there are some instant, like in a cult, typically you sell everything and give it to the cult leader, and not all of them are doing all that, but you do have a lot of people that like basically follow him around to every single rally and like mortgage their like that donate so much money to him and stuff. So even that, David Lee Roth once said, money can't buy you happiness, but it can buy you a boat big enough to sail up right next to it. If this isn't a cult, it's sailing right next to a cult. Meanwhile, in the MAGA universe, birthright citizenship for territories Act Representative Morgan Griffin of Virginia seeks to end automatic birthright citizenship. Yeah, that's going to require a constitutional amendment, buddy. Sorry, Morgan. I think the Constitution already settled that one. And it's not going to pass anyway. And it's like, it's also insane. They're literally calling him Jesus. And they have literally prayed to him. Like, they made an actual golden idol of Donald Trump and prayed to it at the Mecca. Trump Mecca. That's what CPAC should be called now. Trump Mecca. They literally went to Trump Mecca and prayed to a statue of Trump. And so it's like, I mean, if it walks like a cult, talks like a cult, quacks like a dolt, and has a bunch of quacks like a cult, then maybe it's a cult. Thousands have reported losing all their poop to him. And there was stuff like, there was you could contribute to his campaign, and they had this like they have the checkbox to where you can make a regular monthly contribution. And they had the default setting of that set to, you do this monthly, right? So if you say, I want to donate $1,000, and you've got like $15,000 to your name, and you give him like all the money you can, $1,000, and you go and you donate it, and you don't notice that check mark there, then the next month another $1,000 comes out, and then the next month. And there are people that never noticed that, asked for their money back, couldn't get their money back, and still supported him, still voted for him, even after he stole all the money out of their bank account. And then, oh, it's not his fault. It's the people that he, it's the other people's fault. Under the legislation, individuals born in Puerto Rico, Guam, U.S. Virgin Islands, and Northern Marinas would no longer add automatic perforated citizenship after 2. Oh my goodness. After January 1st. Wow. Wonder what all those places have in common. And why not? Why not? And why is it so important to them? They say it's not about race. But boy, Puerto Rico, Guam, U.S. Virgin Islands, Northern Marinas would no longer add automatic. I mean, when you start trying to make it so that black and brown people can't move here, can't immigrate here, anybody that's born here that's black and brown doesn't get citizenship, I'm starting to think it might be about white supremacy. I support all cults as new religions. People call my religion a cult, and it hurts my feelings. So I'd be a hypocrite to demand religious liberty while denying it to others. And I think that there's a difference here between, like, I don't have a problem. Like, and this is why I'm careful about using the word cult. Because I think there's a difference between just having a non-conventional religion and having a cult. So like, what's her name? Allison Mack was in this NXIVM cult or whatever it's called. I think that, anyway, that was a cult. And it's harmful to people, and it's abusive to people. It's not just a different religion. So I think there are actual real cults, and where people are really manipulated and lives are destroyed. And I think there are just non-conventional religions. So, and this is actually why I'm careful about using the word cult, Um, but and I feel like Donald Trump and MAGA is kind of straddling the line, like they're right on the line. Like there are people. One of the big things about a cult is you can't leave it, and if you leave it, then you get ostracized by your community and shut out of your community. You become othered, and MAGAs that like decide they don't support Trump anymore, they get shut out of their communities. And a lot of these times, these communities, like their suburban communities, or I'm not, saying this as an insult, in their trailer park, in their suburb, in their workplace, everybody is like, there is this entrenched Trumpiness to it. And if you question anything by Trump, then you get pushed out of your community, pushed out of your family, pushed out of your marriage. Like, that is very cult-like. I may not approve of how one worships or doesn't worship, but I'll defend the death the right to do so. And that I agree. Like, I think that's where you have to get between, is it a matter of worship or is it a matter of mind control? Once it starts becoming a matter of controlling other people's minds, other people's lives, then you're straddling, you're going into cult area. I think we should be restricting religions more. I personally, I think politics should stay away from religion and religion should stay away from politics. In 250 years, how many U.S. presidents have annoyed the Pope? I imagine most of them, but how many have insulted the Pope? Or, have provoked the Pope to actually feel like they needed to say something? They should certainly be paying taxes. I think I'm starting to come around on that. I didn't used to think that, but I can't think of any reason why churches shouldn't pay taxes. There's this whole thing about separation of church and state, which is why they don't pay taxes. But do they get protection from the government? Do they receive? If a church catches on fire, does the fire department put it out? Not all cults are religious. That's important to remember. It used to mean small religious groups. Currently, cult is defined as high control groups. And then, so yeah, I think that's where I'm thinking. I think you're articulated it better than me, but it's more about control than worship at this point. And that's what's going on with MAGA. And I think that's why you get this defensiveness that's beyond reasonable, and this shouting of TDS and stuff like that is because they're in this controlled situation. And it's like, if they question it, then they start to question it. It's not just they have to change who they're voting for. It's like their entire lives will be destroyed if they say something bad about Trump. Like they'll be pushed out of their job, pushed out of their families, pushed out of their communities. And there's actual like support groups for people that have left MAGA. Like there's support groups for people that leave cults. High control is indeed what most people mean when they say cult. You're right. All cults are not religious. Taylor Swift fans are definitely a cult. I don't know about that. I think Swifties are just fans. Sounds like you have no idea what a cult is. Probably don't understand what democracy means either. I have a feeling that you're not going to tell me what either of those things means. And equally, if you say anything against her, the claws come out. So that's not true, but I guess that ends it. Guess we're all done here. They would let wrap up the stream and just close it down because Justin says it's not true. Was it Justin or Just the Truth? Oh, Just the Truth says it's not true. So I guess that's a winning argument. That's not true, bud. I was in an extremely abusive left-leaning cult that kept bullying and scapegoating their highest members. There was no religion. If you took a break from the server, people would spread rumors. Wow. It must be wild snapping out of MAGA and looking back on. No, there was a thing on TV where I think it was on MS Now or something where there was they were interviewing people and they had never seen the violent footage on January 6th. Like they had never seen it. They did not know that happened. They literally thought that the first time anybody entered was that footage of when the doors were being opened by the cops 2 hours into it. So now you're just making up crap. Trump supporters don't do that. I don't know what I'm making up. And yes, Trump supporters do that. Trump does that. Remember, like the guy that he said vandalized the pool that didn't vandalize the pool? Oh, if you can leave it in, then that's messed up. If you can't leave it, then that's messed up. That shouldn't be allowed, but people should be allowed to enter and exit religions as their beliefs develop. I agree. And I think they are, for the most part. But when you start taking people's monies and controlling their lives and stuff, like Allison Mack deserved to go to jail. Because then you start getting into kidnapping and stuff like that. They have bodies, confirmed bullying people to death. Odds are you don't hang out with any Trump supporters. No, I tend to cut assholes out of my life. I don't hang out with them because they are Trump supporters. But my brother-in-law is a Trump supporter, and I'm not speaking just hypothetically. I know Trump supporters. I just don't hang out with them. I don't hang out with white supremacists or racists. I tend to just not hang out with bad people, with morally corrupt, bankrupt, evil people. I don't care what they call themselves. But yeah, crappy people, I bet you don't hang out with evil people. No, I don't. I deliberately exclude evil people from my life. And people whose entire existence is committed to making other people's life worse. No, I think those are bad people. Exploited labor, etc. Yeah. You haven't said anything true yet, and it's hilarious. You haven't said anything that I've said that's wrong, Justin. You can't. You're just another one of those bozos. You're like just the general, vague, abstract. Oh, you haven't said anything that's true. Yeah, your mom's calling you. It's dinner time. The Pope is going to answer to God. Yeah, well, so is everybody. Brett, would you mind talking about it? I was wondering when you would get around to having a crash out and name calling. You can go. You're acting like a toddler. We were supposed to. Our founding father wrote in the division between church and state, yet now they are interfering with politics, so they should get taxed. I think that's right. Kelly stops and thinks, I like this guy subscribing. Thank you. That is what I try to do. I've actually even learned things from MAGAs on this show. If somebody says something I don't know, I look it up and see if it's true. And anyway, if this is your first time, anybody else, if this is your first time streaming, give me that thumbs up there. I was trying to tell you, I used to actually be a supporter. Like the mind control institutes in the 70s and 80s. This is like, sometimes do you ever, like Stephen King used to like have these kinds of things in his novels. Well, not just used to, like the Institute. It sometimes it feels like we're in a Stephen King novel, kind of like a mashup of The Dead Zone and The Stand. The government doesn't need its hand in every pocket. I don't even know what that means. Like, that is such a straw man argument. Like, it's just a meaningless collection of words. You're not saying anything when you say that. Has anybody, like, what does it mean to say that the government's hand is in anybody's pocket? Who shouldn't, like, are you saying some people shouldn't be paying taxes? Can I ask you to, how would you determine who should pay taxes and who shouldn't pay taxes? Oh, you have TDS. Yeah. You always lose the argument. Like, every time they lose the argument, they go to the TDS thing. This is what I mean. Tom right now is in the mental fetal position. I feel a lot of embarrassment because I used to laugh at his grab them by the bleepy con and other poop. And I think that there are people that, I've talked about this before, where there's like a sunk cost fallacy. And it's like, let's say you go to the casino. All right. And you bet $50 on the craps table or whatever, and you win it. And then you bet the whole thing on another thing and you lose it. And then you're like, okay, I got to get my initial $50 back. And so you keep doubling down and doubling down and doubling down, and you keep going further and further into debt. You lost all your money and now you're in debt, and you got to win it back because otherwise you're going to lose your house. And so then you just keep going further and further into debt, and then they drag you into the room and beat the crap out of you because you just kept trying to get back to where you started. I mean, that's called the sunk cost fallacy. At a certain point, you just got to admit you were wrong. But this is kind of like the same thing, except you're betting with your soul, right? It was okay, like at first it was just he made fun of the handicapped guy, but he was kind of funny, and he says what we're all thinking. And then it was grab them by the pussy, and then it was okay, he didn't rape her, he just jammed his fingers into her vagina against her will. And then and then it was all the liberals were on the court anyway, and so you keep rationalizing away all the evil crap he does, right? And then as you build up this debt of your soul to all the evil crap he's done, and you're approving it, you start to think, maybe I'm wrong. And then if you admit you're wrong, you have to admit that you're okay with all the other evil crap he did. And then you're just going to have to sit there and go, gee, am I evil for supporting all of that? Like I can see like there being an inner conflict on that. And so rather than admit that you were wrong, you keep becoming more and more wrong, and approving of more and more wrong, because you don't want to admit that you approved of other wrongs. I did ask before, but maybe you missed it. I try to get all the comments, but I'm not sure if I see all of them. I've said things bad about Trump. I'm still supporting. I don't care, Tom. It was like a lightning bolt went off in my head and nobody woke me up. It just happened. I can't stand the guy or anything he stands for. TDS is a cult. TDS is not a real thing. Because you won't understand. Dude, I understand. I understand that you have to protect Trump at all costs. And that's why you can't like actually be specific about anything. You just have to say things like TDS. Do you know what Justin Eichhorn is? I don't know what Justin Eichhorn is. What was it like when you were in it? Was there any noticeable entry point? This is a good question. And I actually didn't know this about Brett. I know he used to be a Republican. I didn't know that I thought he was like a never Trumper from the start. The separation of church and state is nowhere referenced to those words in the Constitution or the Declaration of Independence. Many of the founding fathers argued about it quite a bit. Yeah, but you know what isn't? I already read the First Amendment once in this podcast. It says that Congress shall pass no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. That's what the Constitution says. And yes, we have 250 years of legal history that has, one of the very first court cases was about this. And that's where the wording, the separation of church and state comes from. No, buddy, stop listening to MAGA news. It has always, like, you have, like, there is volumes and volumes of history. The whole reason half the people came over here was to get away from religious persecution. Like, you had Christian people in Europe killing other Christian people. William Penn was part of a persecuted group of people for whom we have Pennsylvania. What lie am I telling? If the lies, you've chosen which lies you want to believe. When you believe what Trump says, you're believing a set of lies. I think we should Google Senator Justin Eichhorn, the guy that guy, Justin Eichhorn. Yeah, the guy, the TDS guy. He didn't actually come up. Some people think he came up with TDS, but he tried to legislate TDS. And then I'll let Brett. I don't want to do the spoiler. And thanks, Brett. I appreciate your insight and honesty. It takes real bravery. And I actually, I'm really interested in learning this about you, Brett, because something happened, and I like that. I've always thought it's my experience. I've had a few people that have kind of come out of the MAGA cult, and what I've noticed is that there was one thing that broke through. Right, there's this guy that follows me on Twitter, and he was like a diehard MAGA thing, and sometimes it's like a random thing. So this guy was diehard MAGA, and he was like arguing that Nigeria was emptying out their prisons and their asylums, their asylum people into America, and so I said, okay. Have you ever thought about this? If they were actually doing this, wouldn't there be like news about it in Nigeria? Like that they were emptying their prisons in another country? And he's like, well, yeah, that would make sense. And so I said, have you ever thought about like going into Nigerian websites and seeing if there's any news about that? And he's like, no. I mean, sometimes you got to think. One of the big challenges you have to do is because, like somebody said, they're trained to respond to different questions. So sometimes the challenge is getting them to think of something they haven't been trained to respond to. So he was like, no, that makes sense. And so I said, well, if you're right, there should be news on there. Can you find anything on a Nigerian website about people being released? So he went and he looked around. And so then that was the crack. Then it was 82 mules. And, and so he was talking, he went into 82 mules or whatever, that 2,000 mules. And so I pointed out how like there was like just stuff there, like it was a map of Moscow and not Atlanta. And so anyway, once it cracked, it's like first there's a crack, then there's water starts seeping through, right? And then that causes more splintering, and then the whole wall comes tumbling down. But there's always that first hole in the wall, that first hole in the dike. And so I don't know if was there a hole for you, Brett? Was there like one thing that just made you think this is off? I know for Marjorie Taylor Greene, it was the whole, being called in to get her vote changed on Epstein. I mean, for whatever else, I mean, she's not the sharpest tool in the shed, that's for sure. but she, got like the whole QAnon thing that brought her into the QAnon thing was she hates pedophilia, right? Like that was her entrance into politics. Of course, she like the whole stupid and the crazy in the QAnon thing hooked her, but it was her foundational thing was pedophilia is bad, and she, that was the line she wasn't going to cross. And so when she was asked to justify Trump's stance on the Epstein files, she's like, no, that's too much. That was her hole in the wall. Now she's like saying other rational things. I mean, she's still a crazy woman, still not the best person in the world. She's not like, she didn't become AOC, but you can see like the wall is collapsing around her. It will crush your heart. Repeated lies are all we have now. Thomas Paine opposed the separation of church and state. Thomas Paine was an atheist. Jefferson supported it. Adams varied throughout his life. It's not as simple as they all agreed and put it into the most fundamental law. Well, what is, they ratified the First Amendment, which says that Congress shall pass no law establishing the free exercise of religion or establishing religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. That part is not debatable. Like, were there debates about things? Yes. But what went into the Constitution also says where they ended up, right? Like the Constitution itself says what it says. They were not for an establishment of religion. We know this because that is in the Constitution. That literal words are in the Constitution. I looked up Justin Eichhorn. What a wrongin'. So Justin Eichhorn, if you don't know, is the guy that tried to make TDS an official religion or an official mental disorder. Like, how you pass a law about what a mental disorder is, I don't even know. But anyway, he ended up getting busted for, guess what? Being a pedo. Separation of imagery, sky gods, and state. Imaginary sky gods and state. A Republican from Grand Rapids was arrested in March 2025 following a sting operation soliciting a minor for prostitution. He pleaded guilty to catch a predator. Just a reminder, Senator Justin Eichhorn is the guy that tried to make TDS an actual medical definition. I guess, but Tom's gonna sit there and talk about lies, I guess. TikTok, Tommy. I think Tommy ran away. They always do. They come in and they sit there and they ramble on about how you're afraid of the facts, how everything's a lie, and then they can't actually articulate one position, not even one position on any topic at all. They can't even say anything. They just say you're lying, and that's all they have. They can't even say what I'm lying about. They can't articulate a position on anything because they know they're wrong. Yo, Madonna, she's in a pseudoscience Jewish Hebrew mysticism cult. I was shocked. But hey, yo, Nicolas Cage is inside. I didn't know Nicolas Cage was a Scientologist. I know Tom Cruise is. I can't believe Nicolas Cage is in Scientology. He's my favorite second-rate actor. He's a national treasure. So many celebrities get scooped in. Even the actor who played Chef from South Park. His cult forced him to quit the show. Wow. I couldn't believe it when I found out that Allison Mack was in a cult. I mean, different cult, but she was literally on the wall of weird. The movie he was in, Mandy, was crazy. I can give Nicolas Cage his flowers, as he really is extremely expressive, which makes him fun to watch. Is Nicolas Cage? Is he really? I'm just gonna. Okay, so according to my Google search, Nicolas Cage is not a Scientologist. He was raised a Catholic, his religious views private. So hopefully that's just not true. I'm just is like just stay away from Keanu Reeves is like I hope he doesn't go into that stuff. I like Keanu Reeves. Like as a person, I actually don't think he's that great of an actor, but as a human being, he seems to be a really good human being. Cults are like super friendly people, yeah, because that's how they get you into them. Then you start to see the cracks. People suddenly ostracized, being unable to question rules or suggest new ones. The leaders are surrounded by yes men. Am I evil? Yes, because they come in these channels and just start flailing and rolling insults instantly. Nothing of substance, absolutely nothing. And I mean, that's not being, like general. Like they don't actually say anything. It's like I tell them all the time what, and they never answer. I've never seen one of them answer a thing that I'm lying about or whatever. You get slow boiled into it. My cult thankfully didn't have a physical space to trap folks in. Yet they would spread rumors and impersonate you to kick out people they just don't like. Satan on deck, big cover up. I don't know. Who is Satan? What is the cover up? At least that Gary Snell used to come in here and he would at least listen sometimes. Yeah, Gary, I wonder what happened to Gary. Gary wasn't like that bad. Gary was just somebody that disagreed with us. He wasn't, he at least tried sometimes. They have a lapdog admin that would jump into conversations when anyone used they to insist they were being talked about in order to ban the artist in order to. Oh, so was this like an online community? That's interesting. That's actually really fascinating. Because yeah, like thinking of online cults. Like I always think of cults as being like religious groups and stuff, but I get what you're saying. Like if it is the same kind of thing where it's like you're controlling behavior and stuff through a community that's important, you could have an online cult too. The same reason the Mexican migration. I don't even know what that means. What do you mean the same reason the Mexican migration? That's not even a sentence. 2018, they were. I love Mexicans, no offense. Vance is the worst one in the White House right now. I have no idea what you're talking about, Jackie. Replacing hundreds of thousands of people that God took to the sky that the government's covering up is the reason for all the things we're going through right now. Jackie, are you chewing gummies? Trump's wearing a bulletproof vest everywhere. He was always making chauvinistic comments, and I always turned a blind eye and halfway laughed with the guys, but then I went dark. And after that, he hurt people, taking medical food, housing. Yeah. So when it went just beyond joking to actual action, that was your breaking point. And then Jeffrey Epstein's still alive while you're trying to say that Trump killed, but Jeffrey Epstein was still alive, and they paid me one of the CEOs $5,000 with deposit. Okay, Jackie, we're not reading any more of your comments. The lies and the friggin' Biden obsession. His Russian buddies helped him cheat, and he still lost against Biden. That's what hurts him the most. He's so mad about that. He can't believe that Biden beat him. Billionaires have the smallest, weakest, fragile egos. Isaac Haynes, aka Chef from South Park, is confirmed though. I don't watch South Park, so I've never gotten into like adult animation comedy stuff. It was an online community indeed. A lot of cults moved to the middle of nowhere because it was cheap. Yet Gen Z can't afford land, so it's on servers and websites mostly with us. That is really something I actually find that fascinating. Is there any literature on this? Because I feel like I'm going to actually like do some research on this. Maybe we can talk about that more tomorrow. I find that fascinating because like the idea that what we think of as a cult is evolving. And it makes sense. Like it makes so much sense that's the organic thing that cults are going to do, is they're going to change where, like if the places people meet and discuss things is changing to the internet, then that's a natural, predictable evolution of cults. But I don't think we think of cults as being an online thing. The whole thing, just leave it if you're getting bullied, doesn't work and is a victim blaming in these cults. This is fascinating. Because if you, wow, like just leave, if that's like your entire social group. It's like some of these people, it's like how can like that was some weird stuff Jackie was saying. The God took people to the sky, and I have no idea what she was talking about. QAnon, yeah, QAnon started on 4chan. That's right. QAnon was a cult that started online. Interesting. Very interesting. And I think that these would actually be maybe more dangerous because it's easier to isolate you. I'm going to look into this tonight, and then maybe we can talk about this tomorrow if I find anything good, which I imagine I will. But I'm utterly fascinated by that. MTG and Tucker Carlson are going to attempt to take the MAGA base away and start over. So, all right. So I'm going to pivot now to, wanted to show you guys something. People were asking about my food stuff. So first of all, I brought some show and tell here. If I can, where did I put it? Hang on 1 second here. So hang on. Let me grab something. So people asked about showing pictures of my bread or whatever. So this is a loaf of bread I made yesterday. So that's the crumb. I don't know how much you care about crumb, but this is a sandwich bread. So you want a nice tight crumb. The crumb is the holes in the, like the little tiny holes in the bread. And that's what it looks like. That's the top. So yeah, this was all wheat berries yesterday. I just made it yesterday. See how soft it is? It's like nice and soft and like beautiful gold brown color. I'm getting good at this. This took me about 10 minutes of work to make. It's really easy to make. And this loaf of bread, which is 100% organic and made with fresh milled flour and like the freshest bread you can imagine, is it costs about the same as a loaf of Wonder Bread. Or not a loaf, like the cheapest generic bread, white bread at your grocery store. That's about what that costs. It costs about 5 cents an ounce for me to make that bread. So that's what I'm saying. Like effort, money, and this is I've never actually had anybody eat my bread that didn't say it was the best bread they've ever had. Like that's how good it is. And it's not because I'm such a great baker. It's because there's such a big, huge difference between actual fresh milled flour and using regular flour. Even your organic, Bob's organic whole wheat flour and stuff like that. Because what happens is the oil starts to degrade the moment you start milling it. And even like flour that's been milled a couple of weeks ago is different than flour that was milled a couple of minutes ago. But you can get it's okay. It'll hold longer if you freeze it. So if you go to azurestandard.com, you can use my name. I have a promo code Kelly Scaletta 1, and you just, if you order something from there, I think you get a discount. And you can get fresh milled flour. Like they'll send it to you. It'll be frozen. When it gets there, just put it in your freezer, and then make a loaf of bread with it. See the difference, and then if you like the difference, then you can go ahead and start ordering. Like get a mill and all of that. The other thing I wanted to show you was these were a recipe that I invented yesterday. Okay, hang on. Gotta find this. All right. Okay. So, do you know what butterscotch is? Like where butterscotch gets its name? Because I didn't. But I made these yesterday. Oh, whoops, wrong. Okay. All right. Okay. So these right here are, I made these cookies that are, butterscotch is my mama. We called her Mama. She, because we're from Louisiana, and she had the butterscotch candies, like everybody's grandma, mama, granny, whatever you call her, probably had the jar of butterscotch cookies in them, right? Or butterscotch candies. And that's what you think butterscotch tastes like. And butterscotch was one of my favorite flavors. Butterscotch, butterscotch pudding, like the instant pudding. And so I was like, I want to try and make something that's butterscotch flavored, but like real butterscotch. And I didn't even know what butterscotch meant. So I looked it up, and butterscotch comes from butter scorched, like scotched butter meant like scorched butter. It's browned butter. And that's the essence of what butterscotch flavor is supposed to be. It's like a brown butter. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to make some cookies. And so I figured out a recipe for butterscotch cookies. And I thought, what would be good is make some butterscotch pudding to, like make a cookie sandwich. And so I made some butterscotch pudding, which, like, and then I made them into cookie sandwiches. And I'm like, what this really needs now is like a candy coating. Um, and so I made a butterscotch candy coating out of almond bark. I like melted down the butter bark, put in some browned butter in there, stirred it up, and then I coated it, put the whole thing in the freezer, and made these like frozen. I call these Everest cookies, because they are incredible. They don't just have like flavor depth; they have flavor height. I can't, because it's the same flavor profile, but you're getting different textures and different layers, and so it just the same flavor profile, but it's like hits you on different levels. So anyway, I call these Everest cookies because they have a verticality to their flavor, and because they are frozen. So anyway, but anyway, I have posted here. I'll just if you want the recipe, you can. I'll post a link to my Facebook page that has where these are at. So if you want to try eating these, just go ahead and click on the post. And if you're on there, you can go ahead and follow me on Facebook too. But I'm going to start sharing a little bit more about some of the food I make because people are interested in them. But butterscotch is I was thinking, like grape soda, how grape soda doesn't taste like grapes. And it's sort of grape adjacent ish, but you don't drink grape soda and go, oh, that tastes like grapes. Butterscotch is the same way. It's like it sort of tastes like butterscotch, but once you taste like what real butterscotch tastes like, you're like, oh wow, this is so different. So anyway, I'm going to be doing some more posting on food. I've been exploring how to like eat really, really well for really, really cheap and like really, really delicious. These cookies cost me for the whole dozen cookies, just off the top of my head, $1. It cost me like $1 to make these, so they're really cheap. I mean, if I sold these, I could probably sell them for $1 a cookie. Anyway, so we're just over 2 hours now, and like I said, I've been trying to keep to 2 hours. I'm gonna, like, at the end of every show, I'm gonna start showing off some food stuff, and then we'll see if anybody likes that. Oh no, it's not from the booze. That's what my thought was, is that it was something like made with scotch, and it's just burnt butter. It's scorched butter. Isn't that neat? Anyway, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Hope you have a wonderful evening and try to stay sane in a world of insanity. I'll talk to you later. Bye.